Good morning, everyone. I hope you had a beautiful week. I have been sitting at home, not feeling a little perky at all. So some of my stuff may be a little um, scattered today. I apologize. Um, my talk today is fear comes before all negative emotions. And I wanted to share this because it's been something that I've worked with for a long time. When I was a holistic kinesiologist, doing a lot of research and studying and working with the body and exhibiting the energy of what happens. Now, I hope you guys are getting this. I hope that you guys, somebody leave me a note if something's happening, or somebody send me a text if you're not hearing me, and I'll redo. Anyway, so one of the theories that I came into is that, Dr. Ladd, I've said this before, Dr. Ladd talks about trauma being stuck in the fluid between the cells. Well, my theory has always been that we have this problem when we come into our life with in utero. So when your mother is pregnant with you, I think your emotions start from that in utero experience. Um, that's where our hormones create our emotions, and then our personality comes from those emotions. So what I mean is like, let's say she's walking along and she goes to step off a curb and she missteps and almost falls, and she has that panic and the adrenaline surges through her. Well, when that happens, um, that baby's first experience is with adrenaline. So he might become an adrenaline junkie, or that child might come from that fear that was expressed from the mother. Let's say the first time the child felt emotion was when the father came home and he says, "Honey, I got a raise. We're going to get to go on this beautiful trip, and the baby is going to have everything it wants." And the mother's just feeling joy and love and positive. And he swings her around and he just cuddles her up, and they have this really big moment of expression of love. And the dopamine hits and the serotonin goes wild, and everything is just in perfect harmony. And that becomes the first emotion that child feels. Well, from that then on, that's the home. This is my theory. The home emotion, that is the base where that child starts to come from, relates to the world at. And we spend the rest of our lives trying to recreate where we first in utero felt safe. Now, does that mean that it's the person who had an expression of fear is always experiencing fear? No, but that's what they've come to know and expect. So we have to do what we can do to change up what it is that we like about that, what we need from that. If we don't like coming from that fear base, we have to do some work to change that. So in saying that, I'm saying instead of reacting, we have to learn to act. And if we really like that action, we can make that a habit. So it takes thought, it takes foresight, and it requires us to stop for a moment before we actually just blurt something out. If we like that action, we can continue to go in and create that in our life until we no longer like it or we need it and we want something else. It kind of works like this. If I'm walking out the door and my mother always told me, "Don't fall down," well, my focus is always going to be on falling down. If that's the last thing I hear from her every day, I'm going to create this fear that falling down is bad. Falling down could mean that, hey, I fell down and the safe that was dropped out of the window 10 stories high misses me because I fell down and it hit where I would have been had I kept walking. But we don't think like that. So don't fall down becomes a bad experience. Now, that is the focus. So fear becomes the way I go to school and governs my whole day of, oh my God, I can't fall down. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't, becoming the operative because of my fear of falling down. So it becomes a hypervigilance to stop the falling. So if we're trying so hard to stop the fall, we forgot to look at the beauty of the walk that we took. It might have been autumn and the leaves were turning all the different colors, and there might have been a little mist from your breath, and the chill of the morning was so great. I got to say that I only liked that for about a week because then winter came for me. So for me, I might have missed the leaves turning and then knowing that I was going to have summer within 6 months. So that was what my happiness was. Spring and summer, 6 months from fall. Knowing all of this and knowing that we miss the beauty of the walk, we cheat ourselves of our life experience. We cheat ourselves of positive opportunity. And the worst part of it is that maybe we took 1,000 walks and we fell one time. When we fell that one time, it justified all those 1,000 walks of living in fear. And it justified every moment of every time that we spent in that fear. So it took away all the beauty, all the happiness, all the contentment that we had. I remember when I was young, I was always happy, always cheerful. And then they told me what a struggle my life was, and I started believing that, and then I had to unbelieve it. And sometimes I still believe it, but then I had to unbelieve that too. So we have to constantly keep working from what we were pre-programmed to watch. And it's so much wasted energy. One fall in 1,000 walks, and I spent 99 walks in fear. Doesn't sound logical, does it? And if we don't fall even that one time, we still experience the fall as if we did. As if it is this horrible, horrible time and moment. So I want to tell you guys that for me, this is where our news, our politicians, social platforms, they have control of us. How many times do you hear on the news, yay, little Billy won the spelling bee, and yay, Susie is going to represent the state of New Mexico in cosmic hooping, trained by Johanna Rader. These are these things that we don't tell the good stories. We leave that. So how many times do you go to work and everybody goes, how you doing? Well, last night I went home and oh my God, dinner wasn't ready. I told everybody I needed this time. I needed this. And this frustration is that it comes in there and it's painstakingly frustrating because we're constantly focusing on negative. It's almost like we want our life to be kind of sucky, and we don't. But the bad thing is that when we get around other people and their life is kind of sucky, we spend our time trying to make it not suck for them. But we don't invest that much time in our own life for our own life not to suck. We forget that the hardest thing about what we're doing here is to grow ourselves spiritually and to grow that light so that we bring others with us. And by focusing on the negative, this is how we send our energy out for making our global reality. Everybody gets connected through that fear base. And when we have that fear base, then we make ugly things happen. So we need to take back our power. We need to create a more positive future. And people are going to go, oh my gosh, how in the heck do I do that? Well, we have to start putting things out positive. Johanna and I were talking. I'm going to read you a couple of things here. We were talking yesterday about Gordon Michael Scallion, who talked about, he was a trance medium. He's since retired, but he predicted with accuracy 75 to 80% of the world's earthquakes with accuracy, down to the area even and the magnitude it was going to be. Was it going to be a bad one? Was it going to be? He was that well connected. And he also said, what you emanate, you create. Okay, what you fear, you draw near. So we were talking about this and the earth changes that are supposed to be happening because the core of the earth is heating up. And with the core of the earth heating up, we're supposed to have polar shifts, north to south, south to north. And this has happened before. Might be a good thing, throw off some of our fear factors of it happening if it just get over with. But then again, we don't necessarily want the chaos. But she said Uranus is in Taurus until 2025, so it's all about chaos on Earth. Extreme weather, food chain disruptions, changes in technology. So it all makes sense. Well, and we're looking at the propensity for that to happen. We're looking for the possibilities that could happen. If a tree uprooted right in the middle of my yard and tore up my plumbing, that would be chaos in my world, because then I would have to deal with my plumbing and this tree, and who knows, I'd probably save the tree and damn the plumbing, but that's just me. Well, not really. I like plumbing. I'd find a way to bring balance back. So we have to start looking at changing these things in a more positive aspect, and that means creating a less fearful us in order to have a more positive future. But unfortunately, humankind is predicated on, I went through the dark night of my soul. So we're creating a situation in which we want Earth to go through its dark night of the soul. Why? Can somebody tell me why we want to hate each other? Can somebody tell me why we want to be angry at each other? Can somebody tell me why it's so important to be right? That you will forego hearing, listening, being around anyone who wants to share a more positive aspect? I would love to hear it, because personally, I don't need to be that right. I like being heard because, I have an ego, but we can't we have preconditioned our life and our world in to be, we can't have the great things happen until something really horrible happens to us, because we don't move through and we don't shake up our world on our own. We get complacent. We like to kind of hang out and not worry about things too often because we don't like change. So how are we going to get to that 1,000 years of peace that everybody seems to be so focused on, while they're screaming at each other what horrible people each other is for not doing what they think they should do, for not doing the things that they would not do normally, but because fear came through and because people created that fear for us. So we start working with that fear. So what if we threw out all the self-defeating thoughts? What if we stayed in the moment that we're in right now? I'm sitting here talking with y'all. Nothing bad is happening. I have no cataclysmic, no drama, no anything happening. So what if I stayed in this moment and I kept this moment going into my future? Now, granted, there's a certain amount of planning for the future. Oh, I'm going to have to cook dinner tonight, so I don't get irritated. I might need to take something out of the freezer to defrost. And a certain amount of projection is necessary to get us to the goal. We have to have some goals for what our spiritual life is going to be. I was talking with someone yesterday and they said, did you know that they have stories about people lifting things up without their hands? And I said, yeah, it's called levitation. It was one of the gifts of spirit. Why don't we see more of that? Because people aren't willing to train for it. They're so focused on their own self needs that they're not willing to practice and train and sit to develop those skills. They're not willing to let spirit heal them. And yes, I do believe, without a shadow of a doubt, that they can bring us healing, even if it's just letting us know we're loved. Okay? I ask spirit, I have been trained. Spirit helps you as long as it's on your path. They'll even help you if you're being silly and trying to walk off of path, but by trying to get you back on your path. Okay? Because for us to walk off our destiny is it's a bad thing. We're not going to be there for the ones whose lives we need to touch. So if you're impressed to if you're impressed to call somebody to tell them, hey, I hope you're having a great day, do that, because you may be changing their negative moment into something positive by letting them know, hey, I'm thinking of you. And that's kind of nice. It's a nice feeling to have, is somebody thinking about you. So we do have the ability to ask spirit to help us. Ask and you shall receive. They don't help if you don't ask. And they do help us with our mortal life. I know that seems like the providence of angels, but I'm going to tell you, it's your spirit teachers. It's your spirit guide. They are there to help you. That is what they signed up for. They are there for you. Yes, they still have their work to do, and they still do their work, but there's no time over there, because time is an earth concept, an earth construct. So it's for us. They have the time to help us, and they do. All we have to do is ask. Ask and you shall receive. Big message. Ask and you shall receive. So there's no harm in asking, I'm lonely. Can I have company today? I need some security. Can you show me a way I can make some more money? I need to feel I love this. I need to feel the dog's breath on my neck. Can you make him not be so squirrely when they get in there and just let me cuddle him? Well, they won't do that. That's not going to happen. But you can ask. So what I'm saying is that they don't grant every ask, but they do put forth the effort to help where they can, and they will. So understand that a certain amount of projection is necessary, and this is what happens with people with PTSD. If you've lived a life of turmoil, if you had a dysfunctional childhood, you can live the fact of waiting for the train wreck to happen. I was told I had to get everything done and I had to do it right. So I lived in fear of not doing things the right way. And this has people, when they hear this, excuse me, when they have this fear of what's coming on to us, we create that and we quit being accountable, because then we become a victim to our circumstance. And the victimhood out here allows us to make everybody a bully and us the victim. So if we don't get something taken care of and we forget, well, it wasn't our fault because somebody distracted us. We have to stop reacting to our negative, own what our responsibility is there, and act accordingly. And we will keep repeating the bad actions, the negative actions, until we learn to stop and progress from there. Now, Our personalities make up most of our experience. Why do I say that? Because you're going to have an emotion. If you see um, neighbors moving in and they look like very nice, happy people, you're going to think, oh, how nice. I'll go over there and bring them cookies and tell them welcome to the neighborhood, and I'll introduce them to all my friends. And if we have the ones that look like they're, you know, shouldn't be in our neighborhood, or they're beneath us because they don't have as much as we do, then we're going to think negatively of them. We might not go over there and say hello. We might just wait to see what kind of people they are. Well, I can tell you that the people who look nice and happy and normal can be just as much wacky and dysfunctional. And the people who look poor and like, this is their first home and they're building their life, they can be the most positive. So we have to quit that perception that we have and let our personalities welcome everybody in with positive. So using judgment in our personality is a way that we need to clarify and experience a more positive life. The other aspect of personality is that if you're constantly have been ingrained with negative thought processes, it's really hard, especially when you don't feel good, when you're not thinking clear, when things aren't going positive. You're not going to get in that flow. So we go in and we experience it according to our personality. Then we have the perception of the encounter, or the perception of what we're experiencing, predicated on that. And I'm going to tell you a story that I used to tell people. I have a sister who I love her to death, and she's a very nice person, but she would tell you, I was standing at the corner getting on the bus. I had $2 left, and I needed to buy soup for me and the kids to last all week because I wasn't going to get paid for another week and a half. So I needed that money. And the bus came along and he splashed mud all over me. And I dropped the money because my skirt got jerked by the exhaust pipe and I was drugged 20 feet. I can't do this. Can I borrow some money from you? Whereas me, I would have said, you know what happened? I was standing on the corner and this bus came through and it splashed me and I was covered in mud. It can only happen to me. Ha ha ha. Because that's who I am. I laugh at myself, or I try to. Not all the time, but I laugh at myself and the stupid mistakes that I make. Comes off with a little bit biting dark humor sometimes, but hey, it is what it is. I'm still laughing. So, however we place our words and our thoughts, that's where we follow. So you will create that lack that you need and put it on the onus on other people, or you can put that lack and need onus on you to say, it's never going to happen to me again, and I'm going to live a life of joy, and I'm going to have a life of abundance. And that's what I mean by projecting positive into the future. Same things we talked about with the book Weaving Fate. So, how we live our life and the moments that we do it, it's like, let's say you go to bed and you've got a lot of worry and your focus is all fear-based. You're going to toss and turn, you're going to wake up, you're not going to sleep well. All of that's going to be exhausting, it's going to weaken your immune system, and then where are you going to be? So if you go to bed thinking positively, you're going to rest better. I experienced this when my son died, because for a while the only thing I saw repeatedly when I closed my eyes was his death. And so that stuck with me, and I had horrible nightmares. And then I got to the point I just didn't think anymore, and I didn't have any dreams at all. And then I started coming out of it, and I started trying to put positive back in my flow of thought to go to sleep. So there's always a grieving process. We all grieve differently, but this is just an example how we can sabotage our life well in advance of making any actions stem from it. So try to go to bed thinking positive, be thankful. Um, our last words are words that people hold. So instead of saying, don't fall, say to them, welcome in your abundance. I love you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being a part of my life. Ending our notes with positive experiences really has a great way of coming full circle. And it sets the tone for the rest of your day and the next time you see this person again. Now understand that I do realize that personally we stress. I stress and worry when it's close to my heart, as does most people. I can create fear out of that stress because I was taught you must never fail. So I would go to the ends of the earth making sure that what I did to the best of my ability. And if it failed, then I accepted the consequences of the actions. But, when I was much younger, it was like, well, it failed because so-and-so. And I became that nasty. So knowing that what we're taught, we have to unbreak those patterns. And we have to understand that what stress and worry does, it does pay karma because it does create a way for you to bring things into balance. But we have to learn to stop that. We have to learn to understand that it's all positive. When my kids were younger, I would come home from work and I would leave the house clean when I left, and they'd get home from school and there'd be shoes here, socks there, books over here, jackets over there, snacks. The kitchen was torn up, and I'd be like, really, you guys? Can't you pick up after yourself? And this was a theme for us because I also, as a single parent, had to go in, cook. So I had to clean the kitchen, get the things ready to do, get them started on their homework, get this done, get that done, do the laundry, do cooking, do that, do this. I didn't want to have to help clean up. And they're like, sorry, Mom. And my kids were frustrated because I wouldn't stop cleaning because I was told you had to have clean house. I mean, I took my mom's OCD to heart and owned it. So my kids were frustrated because if we had planned like a Saturday night movie, I would not sit down to watch the movie until the dishes were done. And I'd say, go ahead and start it, I'll be right in. And they're like, no, Mom, because you're going to clean up the kitchen and we can't hear over the clanging, and you should just sit down and relax. And I would sit, and about halfway through the movie, my mind was so distracted with those dirty dishes that I had to get up and do that because it was creating a guilt or a fear in me. Cheyenne just walked in. Hi, baby. Hi. Hang on a second. So, understanding that we all have our ways. Sorry. That's what happens when you have grandkids and dogs. So, we all have our ways, and we need to learn to be gentle with each other. We need to learn each other's idiosyncrasies, and we need to help support that, whatever it is that they're working through, so that maybe jumping up and helping do the dishes, kids could have done that too, but yeah, wasn't going to happen. They were kids. We need to be more supportive and talk more supportive so that we become more supportive for us. This is how we change the collective consciousness. This is how we change the global awareness. This is how we change our global future. We don't do it by rocking major changes in people's world and saying, I'm the disruptor, and expect that to be okay. We shouldn't go in there asking to make everything chaotic for somebody else. We should be giving everybody all the love and support they need to feel safe. We should be creating this for ourselves by doing so. It's tiring sometimes and it gets frustrating, especially when we don't experience immediate results, but it's worth it. A really good book to read on this is Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. It was written way, I'm going to say 20, 25 years ago, somewhere in there. Now, it's a really good book about getting you in the flow. We do a book study in Mastering Metaphysics with Michelle Vidal, And we're doing a book called right now From Illusion into Enlightenment. See? See? And I want to read you guys in closing in chapter 5. Sorry. And a man said, "Speak to us of self-knowledge." And he answered, saying, "Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the path of my soul. Say rather, I have met soul walking on my path, for the soul walks all paths. The soul walks not upon a line, neither does it grow like a reed. The soul unfolds itself like a lotus of countless petals." This was written by Kahlil Gibran. I love Kahlil Gibran. I have his books, some of his books. But it's true, we walk so many paths. But now is our time to start opening up to higher progression. Now is the time that we start creating a more positive 1,000 years of peace, if not longer. Now is the time when we come into higher consciousness. Now is the time where we start drawing to us the beauty of love, light, peace, and happiness, and of course, abundance and prosperity. We are all deserving of this. So from my heart to all of yours, I hope you enjoyed today's talk. Love to all of you. Bye now.